All right, you know how this works. First of all, drop a line in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from, because we always like to know that fun stuff. You will notice we are playing Brady Bunch today. Below me. Hi, Jim. Jim, look to your left and say hi, Mary. Your left, your other left, Jim. Oh.
My left,
okay,
Mary.
So what we're talking about today, we're talking about our mastermind, and apparently in our mastermind, we're going to have a day where we teach Jim directions.
Oh, my other right. I see.
Oh man, I'm just kidding. So yeah, Jim, look to your left, say hi to Mary. Mary, look up, say hi to Robbie. Yes, we got 4 people on today, and there's a reason for that. I have literally 2 of my most favoritist people in the whole wide world, 2 members of our START Mastermind on, Jim and Mary. And what we're going to talk about today is exactly that. We're going to talk about masterminding, and want to, of course, share with you guys, the value of our mastermind, and in hopes that that you guys join us. Because if you guys will excuse me, I'm going to move this microphone a little closer to me here. I'm in my office today. For those of you who can't tell, I am not in the studio because the studio currently is inaccessible by land. No, my studio right now is full of kids' toys. So I thought about it. I was like, well, I could like stand there if I do some yoga poses and get into position, and then you would never know that all around me are toys, but there are toys. So yeah, we're going to be talking about our mastermind today. And again, the hopes are that you guys will join us. If you are interested in joining our START Mastermind, I'm going to start off with just letting you guys know, I think it'll be the single best decision you make for your business, and possibly, and I dare say, for your life. And the reason is, when you get that clarity that you get in a mastermind, when you get the focus that you get in a mastermind, when you get the resources and the information and the wisdom and all the stuff that you get from mastermind. We talked last week about the benefits of a mastermind. I talked in the podcast this week about some of the top lessons that I've learned from masterminds. When you get those things, it is definitely a life improvement strategy. I can tell you that just the stress that I have in my life as a result of masterminds and really good coaching programs is 1/10 of what it would be without, if I was trying to figure all this stuff out myself. And so we've talked about that before. Jim and Mary, you guys know that, there are times where somebody will come to the group and they're just like, I spent all week doing this thing. And I'm like, why'd you do that? That wasn't not the thing you needed to spend your week doing. Oh, what was it? It was this, and it's a lot less stressful. And so now we have, and Alan, one of the members of our mastermind, apologized to me earlier. He has the best excuse for not being on this today, guys. It's because what he's been learning in the mastermind is how to set up JV partnerships and how to get affiliates. And so what he is literally doing right now, so we're going to give him a big little energy shout out. What he is doing right now is a JV webinar. So Alan is out there right now. Instead of being on here talking about how amazing our mastermind is, he's executing on what he's learning in the mastermind and doing a JV webinar. So I'm excited for him. So when he watches this later, and I know he will, Alan, we love you and hope it is going awesome. So first, I want to welcome, I'm going to go left to right, below me, and then below me into my, wait, I got to reverse this. To my left.
We'll also be teaching Matt directions, Jim, so you won't be alone.
I should never have picked on you, should I, Jim?
Karma.
So we'll go straight below me first. My fellow Hoosier, my fellow Indianan, Jim Folsom. Jim, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
All right. Well, my background is leading in-house communications teams for nonprofits, and the company I worked for relocated to a different state, and I decided I wanted to do my own thing. So I stayed here, and now I help entrepreneurs, small business people. My avatar's name is Bob. I help Bob figure out what to do with their website, how to write copy that sells, and tweak their marketing skills.
That's awesome. And I mean, you, well, we'll talk about that later. There's just some cool stuff. Just cool stuff with Mary too. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the cool stuff with everybody. Like Alan's off right now doing a JV webinar. You know, Gwen's doing an event. Kurt's probably just being lazy. I don't know. But anyway, Mary, tell us. So I will say this: our audience is getting ready to get to know you in a big way. Many of them already have. If you were on, back a couple of months ago, we had Mary on doing a Facebook Live talking about confidence,
Yes.
and I definitely would say it was probably one of the most emotional, like hard hitting Facebook Lives that we've ever done. And also, I know that it was probably the most diverse in terms of the comments. Like the comments were, you know, it was like, it's just really cool. Like it was an awesome Facebook Live. And then it was so good that we actually released it as a podcast episode. And we only do that. I don't know if you know this, Mary. We only do that with about 4 or 5 or 6 Facebook Lives every year, where we actually then release them as podcasts. But we did with yours. So that's kind of cool. But Mary is also going to be featured frequently in the Mindset Minute with Mary Mitchell. Love the alliteration. In fact, that's one of my words. One of my words back. I don't know if you guys will see. You'll see some other words up here that I probably should have erased before we went live, but not that they're like profane or anything. There's just some stuff up here, some planning stuff. But what, like, we're looking at this framework for that I'm working on with our clients, and it's, you know, what is it actually? What's the middle one? Okay, alliteration. Yeah, acronyms, alliteration, and alacrity. And alacrity is a shout out to my dad. That was one of his favorite words. So I had to Google it to see what it meant. But anyway, love the Mindset Minute with Mary Mitchell. It'll be coming out on the podcast soon. But Mary, other than just being awesome and having one of our best Facebook Lives ever and being featured on the podcast, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
So as Matt said, my name is Mary, but I actually go by Mary Denise, and I work on the self-image. I consider myself a mind connection coach, and I work to help women that are 40 and over that have those self-conscious issues, that believe everything that they've ever been told about themselves that drags them down, where they feel like, oh my gosh, you know, my mother said this was going to happen, or my boyfriend said this, or, you know, all those negative things that people tell you and the feelings that you have. So I kind of help bust open those disempowering beliefs and help you to become a much stronger individual, to where you're living the best version of your life. Because, you know, we only have one life to live, and we need to make it count, because every single day we wake up, we have the opportunity to make a difference, not only in our lives, but in the lives of others. And that is what we're here to do.
Whew. That's powerful.
I've been working on that.
I love that. I mean, I love that Mary has been so we talked about this when we had her on the Facebook Live, and Jim, you can attest this. When, like, the first couple of weeks that Mary was in the mastermind, I could probably count the total number of words she said on a hand. Maybe I might have needed 2 hands. Like, it's just very quiet. Never spoke up, never offered any feedback to anybody. And, you know, admittedly, that's somewhat normal when you're new to a group. And, you know, because she came in when the group had, you know, kind of gelled a little bit. And I understood that, but it was like that continued for a while. And, you know, it was like, okay, what are, you know, Mary, if I had said, Mary, tell us about yourself then, and I'm not picking on you, and I know you don't take it that way, but it would have been like here, there, and then, but a little bit of this, but, you know, but I'm not really that special. And maybe I can help people, but maybe not. And nobody would have had a clue what you did. And certainly wouldn't have felt that connection that I know somebody's resonating with right now. Like, I just think that that's powerful. And we've seen that in Mary. And I have to say, I said it when we had her on before, like, watching things like that is what is like super energizing for me. It's I think we all need a certain level of fuel, you know, that keeps us going. We need fuel for our bodies and our brains. You know, we need food. Some of us need coffee. You know, there are things we need that are fuel. And for me, that's fuel. seeing that transformation has been really cool fuel. So I want to talk about, you know, and I'll start with you this time, Mary, like other than what we just discussed, what has been one of the biggest, what have been one of the biggest benefits that you've gotten out of being in START Mastermind, or any mastermind really for that matter?
So let me correct something. Matt said that it was the first few weeks that I didn't say anything. Let's try a whole year where I just kind of sat there and listened, but didn't
It
really
wasn't
do
quite,
anything.
actually, yeah, it was. It was almost exactly a year now I think about it. It was 11 months.
It was a year.
Yeah.
And I was
Wow.
petrified, right? Because I felt like here I am with a bunch of people that like they seem to have their stuff together and they know what they want to do in life and how they want to help people. And then I was sitting here listening to Matt, right? And the first couple of times, I'm not going to lie, I was a little intimidated just because if every time I heard him give feedback to somebody, I thought he's going to slaughter me. I'm just not going to say a word. But the more I got to know him, and then when I finally took that step and said, this is what I'm doing, and I've had several iterations through the last 2 years, it has changed. The dynamics of my life have changed. I've learned to rely on other people and to believe that people really truly do want to help me and they want to see me succeed. Because there's people in your lives that say, "Oh yeah, I believe in you. I want you to succeed," but they don't really help you get there. They're all talk, no action is what I like to call them, but not with Matt and this team of smart people.
Hmm.
Like, it is incredible the feedback that I have been given on my websites, on anything that I'm putting together, even my introduction and my, this is how I help people. They have helped me so much to recraft my statement and get to a point where I'm actually feeling a little bit confident. And I think that exploded as we talked about at the last Facebook Live was when I went to the launch con as a guest of Matt. And it just my life changed after that.
That is awesome. And you know, you mentioned the intimidation thing. I think, you know, my role as the facilitator, I don't see myself as a leader of the mastermind. I see myself as a facilitator. My role is to play whatever role best serves you guys. And there are times, you know, like, I'm gonna give you like two extreme examples. If you come in and you're just like, you know, I haven't been getting anything done. My father passed away 2 weeks ago. I'm not gonna be like, hey, you need to get your act together, Mary. You know, like, what are you doing, you lazy bum? Like, I'm not. Of course, I would never do that anyway. But like, that's not the time to do that. That's the time just to, you know what? Maybe this week on your hot seat, what you just need is to talk. Like, you just need community because, you know, we're all either solopreneurs or entrepreneurs that I don't think there's anybody in START, and including, you know, Robbie and me and the other members of our team, that work in an office with anybody. So we, you know, we don't really have that community built in. And did we lose Mary?
I think we did, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
She might come back.
So just, you know, to finish what I was saying, then we'll Jim, I was going to talk to you anyway. You know, like, I play the role that needs to be played. So I know when to do that. And also when, you know, when do we need to, so when do I need to wrap a loving arm around? And then when do I need to kind of get up in your grill a little bit, you know? And I think a good example of that is, you know, we recently, and, you know, Jim and Mary, you were there, of course. We had a member that was like, I kind of felt was like, did you not pay attention 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? Did you not, like, we went through this a whole other person. Why are you, you know? And I was just like, okay, no, here's the plan. I'm going to say it again, you know, and I could tell that this person was like, man, I feel like 2 feet tall right now. But sometimes we need that. And it's about kind of understanding what's going to motivate that individual in the time. Again, if she had come to me and said, well, I'm doing this and it's because I'm, you know, I haven't slept in 4 days. Okay, different conversation, you know, go get help for that. But, you know, I think it's just personal. I think that's the thing that, you know, with you, I I kind of let you ride for a little while, and then we got progressively a little tougher.
Well, and remember
when
where
you were ready for it.
remember where I was at though when I first started, where my mindset was, and where I was all, oh my gosh, like I'm
Yeah.
way out of my league here. And all the feedback that you were giving to people, it was profound. And I'm like, wow, like he knows his stuff and he's really helping people, make their own changes. But, when I go to open my mouth, I'm going to sound like an idiot and I don't want to be embarrassed. And so, that's that's what I mean when I say that I was intimidated by that. But now it's like, no, it's like everything that you say, even through the side door coaching, as I like to call it, I've learned something from each one of the START members and information that you've provided to them. And then when I've had my own hot seats, there's been times like in the beginning, I was scared of these hot seats because I'm like, how am I going to use up my 20 minutes? But as I started getting more confidence and I started getting more in line with my vision and everything else, the hot seats, like I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on that real quick and like just about the hot seat and being intimidated. And then Jim, I want to ask you the same question I asked Mary. I think that's the benefit. Like, I mentioned in multiple emails the last week or so when we've been promoting START that, I'm in a mastermind and I'm looking for things for our mastermind from those masterminds, things that fit, things that fit well. And one of the things that I realized was a lot of times in the masterminds that don't have this one thing, when somebody's on the hot seat and we say, okay, what's your biggest struggle? What's your big rock right now? You get like, well, gosh, there's like 6 things I could talk about. One of them, I don't know, maybe let's just talk about this thing, and I think it's kind of like, well, here's the thing. So 5 years ago, I went to this thing and and it's like a 4-minute process. We have 20 minutes, like you just took a fifth of your thing getting to the part where finally it's like, okay, and I still don't understand what your thing is. What is it? So now we're 10 minutes in and it leaves less time for feedback. And so, we're introducing, next week, we're introducing a new thing where, hey, there's a document that you're going to fill out beforehand. And if you need to, because again, this will help with the intimidation factor when you're new, if you need to say, my biggest rock is that I blah, 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 and yada, yada, and you need to read it directly off the page, you can do that. And when I went to the mastermind where they use that, I wrote it down. I wrote out the thing and I literally did exactly that. And I'm not nervous in the mastermind. It's just that I knew that if I read what I wrote, it's going to be quick. It's no different than if you told me right now, hey, Matt, I want you to talk about lead magnets. I'll talk about lead magnets for 2.5 hours and I'll go here, here, and here. If I read the section from my book about lead magnets, I'll talk for 14 minutes and you'll get the same information. Just about. Why? Because I'm reading it word for word and it's succinct and it's focused. And so that's something that I think will really help with some of the new people. So Jim, turning to you, I mean, I have an idea of one of the big things you got out of the mastermind. Actually, I remember from about a year and a half ago, but I'm curious what you think the biggest thing you've got out of it is.
I think probably the biggest thing is a much narrower focus on who I'm trying to reach. I was all over the map when I joined START. Probably. Okay, definitely, because I was desperate. I was desperate for work. So I was willing to, find any type of project and work on it. If you needed a book laid out, if you needed a website, if, whatever, you're the guy I'm looking for. And now it's like, no, I don't need, I'm not the best at that. So we're going to leave that. In fact, I hate this. I'm never going to do that again. So I've really focused in on what am I good at? What am I passionate about? And START has helped me narrow that focus and start to define where I thrive. So
that's super critical. I remember that when you first started. I think the exact phrase I said to you is, so I asked you to describe your avatar
Yes.
And you described it. I said too many, and I interrupted you and I said too many ors.
Oh,
Because you're
yeah.
like, well,
I think I had a dozen.
it's people who want to blank or people who want to blank or, and I said, okay, new rule. You get one or. And we actually, I don't know if I told you this, you were the one that helped me develop the one or rule. Which sounds like a rowing thing, right? It sounds like you're like a rowing company. They use the one or, right? But no, it's one OR. And you helped me develop the one or rule. So in my book that's coming out roughly about a year from now, again, we're waiting on the final dates, the Passion to Profit Path, I wrote about that in the book, the one or rule. And I mean, again, it's totally something, I mean, that's one of those things about a mastermind. I'm helping you, which I could have just been another member. I just happened to be the facilitator, the owner of the mastermind. I could have been another member. And yet I get to help you, which helps me clarify something. I mean, same kind of thing, like I write about, it never fails. If I'm on a Facebook Live, I get like 84 texts.
It wasn't me, I swear.
I know it wasn't.
It is now.
But my watch is seriously, it's like I'm getting a wrist massage right now. Like it's just constantly going. And then it's like, ADD. I wrote about this where it's like the framework for lead magnets, number, noun, that verb results. That came from a mastermind that I was in, not from somebody teaching it to me, but we were masterminding. I was helping them and I just like made that up. And I went, wait a minute, that actually is a formula for a lead magnet. That's the power of that, like just being in a group like that where you're helping each other. I would have said, and I'm glad to hear that it was focus and clarity, Jim. I would have said the biggest benefit you got was, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, we were talking, on your hot seat, and I said,
Oh, leave me hanging.
I was going to say, he just froze. And you said,
I
you
don't,
froze right as, and you said,
and you said, okay.
We were all right on the edge of our seat, waiting to hear what you said, but we couldn't hear it.
So yeah, I said, raise your prices. And then you said, I was just playing that.
Okay.
That was terrible.
Come on. I can't freeze exactly. No, see, I still breathe.
You asked me, if I had like an hourly fee, and at the time I did. Well, I still do, but I avoid the hourly fee if I can. And you say, "Oh my goodness, that's way too low." You should double it.
You were like freaking out. But then a month later, no, it was like 2 weeks later, because one of the things we do at the beginning was as we share wins. It's sometimes depending upon if like somebody doesn't show up, we might go for 15 minutes with wins. Sometimes I'm pretty like, okay, we got 4 minutes for wins, let's go. But I think this was one of those times where we had kind of a middle ground. We had like 7 or 8 minutes. And you said, well, I raised my prices. And I won't say the numbers, but I said basically raise them, we'll say about 15%, 20%. And I told you, I'm like, dude, you're not going to lose any customers when you do that. And then you come back and you said, well, I raised my prices. Like, dude, way to go. And you're like, to this. And it was like 30% roughly. I think I think I'm doing the math. Might even been almost 40.
It was almost double.
It was almost double. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was going a little low, but yeah, I think I said raise them about 20-25%. And you were like, it was pretty close to double. And I was just like, boom, and I was just thinking like, cause you were looking for ways, how can you work a little bit less and not cut? And I'm like, dude, you can work 20% less, which is a significant cut for the majority of the population, and make more. How cool is that? So I thought you were going to say that.
Add is you actually made me focus on where does that rate go? How does that break out? And it's like, well, no wonder I'm struggling. I'm giving a lot of it to different government and state services. So,
yeah.
Gosh, I didn't leave myself any to live on.
You're not even paying yourself a living wage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's super cool. Mary, what have you seen in terms of, because you kind of mentioned the same thing. I mean, both of you said like this focus and clarity thing. What's been like the coolest thing that you've learned in START? Maybe let me put like that wasn't addressing something that you struggled with or that you thought you struggled with. So one of my favorite terms, Gwen Marasco in START, who couldn't be on today because she's doing something else awesome. She calls it sideways learning. So sideways learning, for those of you who don't know, is I'm helping Jim solve his problem, and Mary goes, light bulb, and Mary gets an idea for her business. And she's like taking notes, not even listening to anything, not even trying to help Jim anymore. She's thinking about her business, which is totally cool. We love those moments. What's been like the coolest sideways lesson you've learned?
I think for me, the sideways lessons when you were talking to Jim about the pricing, because that's the one area that I've always struggled with, was like, I know what my worth is and I know what I want to charge, but do I, we're in COVID, or, my particular audience may not be able to afford it. And you had said something to Jim, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember sitting there going, duh. I paid to get coaching. I paid to get mentored. I shelled out a lot of money because it's what I wanted. It's what I needed. And I recognize that. So there's going to be somebody out there that's going to recognize that they need me. And they're going to be willing to pay the price that I am charging for it because they're going to get a fabulous result. And you kept focusing on that. People are paying for the results that you give them. And I thought, wow, I never looked at it from that perspective before that.
Yeah, that is a powerful lesson. People pay for results. They pay for speed of results. And I remind myself, people aren't paying me for an hour of my time. What is an hour worth? I don't really, not anything. If you think about it, time is kind of a made up construct, and so is money. So what is an hour worth? It's like, whoa, okay. Where's Ayn Rand when you need her? This is getting really metaphysical here, but like, what is it worth? I don't know. It's what you're going to get out of that hour. You're not paying me for an hour. You're paying me for 16 years of experience. And if you think about it, here's another way of looking at it. And let's just look at affiliate programs. When somebody comes to us and says, I want you to coach me, in our coaching program, right, on how to start, grow, and scale an affiliate program. From Memorial Day 2005 till 2009, I made up how I ran affiliate programs. I truly did not learn from anybody. There just wasn't that much out there. I screwed up so much crap, and I kind of made it up. And then I started to learn from some people and kind of take their stuff and steal a little bit and apply it to my stuff. And I got better at it. In 2010, I was affiliate manager of the year. What you're paying for is to avoid those 5 years. I can literally get you from where I was in 2005 to where I was in 2010 with an $18 million a year affiliate program and, winning affiliate manager of the year and being arguably one of the best in the world at what I do. I can get you there in hours with coaching, literally hours. So what people are paying for, I think this is what you realize, Mary, they're paying for that. Like I worked 7 days a week from Memorial Day 2005 until I got married. And when I dropped down to 6 days a week, I worked 7 days a week and average of probably 10, 11 hours a day for 3.5, 4 years to get there because I didn't know what I was doing. I was an idiot. I made it all up, and you get to avoid all those mistakes. So that's the beauty of that. And I think when people realize that, they charge what they're worth and they get what they're worth, which is exactly what happened with you, Jim. So Jim, what would you say, if I ask you the same question, sideways learning, the biggest thing you've learned kind of in that indirect way?
Biggest thing I've learned is, how would you put it?
I don't know how I would put it. I mean,
yes, exactly. Well, the importance of lead magnets, because all this was foreign material to me. My background was mainly print. So if you needed a booklet, brochure, anything like that, I'm on it. But as far as how to use the internet effectively, I talk about a newbie. So learning about a landing page, a lead magnet, giving people something of value, just watching how you deal with all the different categories that we have in START. It's been it's been wild just listening, kind of being a fly on the wall of these masterminds. It's like, wow, I
Hmm.
could use that. Oh, I see how that works for me. It's like,
That's yeah. So I was in My Mastermind 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to think of who all's in there because I'm new to it. So this was actually my second meeting. We have an optometrist, a guy who does manufacturing in Germany, a pastor in I think he's in Canada. One of them's in Canada. I'm pretty sure it's the pastor. And then serendipitously, we have a lady who sells the things that go here. If you like, I don't know if you guys, three of us are wearing glasses. Mine don't have it anymore, but the little
The nose pad.
things,
Yeah.
which is just so, again, serendipitous because there's an optometrist in the group. And I'm like, your target audience is in the group. You might want to take advantage of that. And she's like, I never thought of that. I'm like, the first thing I thought of when you guys like introduced yourself, I'm like, you two need to be hooked, like doing something together. And there's one other person that I'm struggling to remember. And I remember the Robbie, I don't even know if I had a chance to share this with you yet, but not the pastor, the German manufacturing guy was like, how do we teach our students, or not our students, how do we teach our team? And I was like, well, you do this, this, and this, and you use I'm like, oh my gosh, I just wrote the playbook for him. And in the meantime, wrote the playbook for how we should train our team. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the same meeting, somebody was saying something to the pastor. They were talking about comp plans for the pastors, for their church leadership and things like that. And I was like, oh, they said something to him. I was like, oh, that answered the question I had about comp plans. So it was actually funny, when it came to me for my hot seat, I was like, I got to be honest, this meeting, the other meeting I read off my script, I was like, I really don't know what to say. Like what I wrote on my thing, I already answered in this mastermind.
Mhm.
It's like literally a multi-million-dollar question. I already answered it by you two dialoguing about his problem. So that sideways learning is super, super powerful because it's literally like you're on a fly on the wall with, coaching sessions is kind of how it is, which I think is so powerful. So powerful. So Jim, kind of something's interesting has happened. You've been in our mastermind for a while. We've been interacting forever. Ironically, Jim and I live 50 minutes apart. We've only met once.
Yeah.
I think it was breakfast over at what was it, that place, Sunlight Cafe or something like that in Fort Wayne. And we totally need to get together again soon. I know COVID kind of put the kibosh on that, but we can now, thankfully. So let's get together soon. You've been in a mastermind for a while, and then this is how this works, guys. Like you're around people. So when I think of like, if somebody came to me and said, I'm really struggling with confidence, and especially if it's a female, I don't think, man, let me think if I could Google some stuff about confidence. I'm not going to go to Facebook and be like, let me go, who do I know that's a confidence coach? I'm like, yeah, you need to talk to Mary. When somebody comes to me and needs graphics, or book help, like I'm going to send them to Jim. We did a webinar all about weight loss. Why? Because Alan's in our mastermind. Somebody comes to me and says, I consider myself a high performer, but I'm burned out, or I have migraines. I mean, instantly, Gwen. I want to know crypto, Kurt. Like, I'm not going to be like, I wonder who I know who knows crypto. I already know these things because they're in our mastermind. And so something interesting has happened, Jim. And that is one day I'm thinking, I need somebody to do our graphics. And I didn't go to Indeed.com. I didn't go to, Upwork.
Mhm.
I sent you a text and said, basically, will you do our graphics? And you said, yes. Okay. How much do we need to pay? You said this. And, we went back and forth. We talked on the phone for 10 minutes and you were hired.
Yeah.
Like this can lead to really cool opportunities as well, So I want to hear from you. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to word this question without putting you like really on the spot, but, I'll say this. What are some of the other opportunities that have come to you because of START that you would not have expected?
I would say the very, very first opportunity was like in my first month or two of START. One of the people in the group had a hobby he was trying to turn into a business, collecting and restoring cars, which is kind of my hot button. So I was excited about that. And he said, "Oh, I got a book. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how, I just have a Word document." I said, "Let me help you." So, that was the first thing, as I got a book layout deal. Mainly that was just for fun, but I'm doing graphics for you, connecting another guy that needed website help, which I didn't want to do, with my son, who does that for a living. And then there's Alan.
I forget who. You'll have to remind me later who that was. Oh, yeah. Okay, yep, I remember who that was. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know what to say, but man,
I can do the math on that,
out there.
Jim. I can do the math on that.
Yes.
Inside thing there, sorry.
Yeah, and then there's Alan, who is the amazing weight loss coach who's just helping men and now women you lose hundreds of pounds. And he said, "Hey, Jim, can you write emails?" I said, "Can I write emails?" I was like, "Sure, let's work something out."
No, to be clear, that went wrong. To be clear, he wasn't asking, "Are you literate?" Right? Like,
No, he wasn't asking. I've invested in courses on copywriting.
Okay.
So,
Wow,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to edit this video
needed some
later.
emails and a series of emails for after his JV ventures that he could send out, a stream of emails, and it's like, "Hey, let's do it."
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, turned in kind of a JV venture for me. So,
And then, I mean, there's been other deals. You're doing partnerships with other members. I mean, yeah,
sure.
it's.
Yeah, and then there's that other one that's with.
And you can talk about that. You can mention the name if you want. I mean, I'm like, you don't have to be like
realestateagent.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up steam, so we're excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, membership site, and it's kind of cool. It helps real estate agents establish their platform and to get them into the top 10 agents in their community. So we give them strategies, we give social media to use that they can customize with their logos, and we provide copy that they don't have to think up what to write.
That is super cool. And again, I mean, that's like you guys connected through START and then decided to, I mean, I know it was like, Phil had like the real estate kind of a little bit of the knowledge of that. Yeah. And then, well, we need graphics, and oh, well, there's Jim. And then we need somebody to coach them on like just business and high performance. It's like, oh, well, Gwen. And so you form this. So sometimes you're going to connect with people that aren't, like you, it's not like you woke up and went, the reason I want to be in this mastermind is I want to get into the real estate industry and help real estate agents. No, because you're not helping them understand how to sell homes per se. You're helping them with a thing that you're, uniquely skilled at.
Right.
Love that. Mary, same thing for you. I'm just curious, like what have been some of the things that you've gotten out of it, whether it be business opportunities or, knowledge or connections or whatever, like you just, like you kind of think, wow, I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm. Well, for one, because I was so green and not understanding how to do email landing pages, all that other stuff, I did manage to grow my list within the first 2 months of being part of START just by listening to everything that Matt was facilitating on and working with other people. So as he said earlier, I was taking notes, copious notes. So that was a really big win for me because before that,
that's awesome.
I had no clue. I've also had more speaking opportunities that have been presented because of my affiliation through START and just, Matt being so amazing at helping cross promote the things that we do. That has been really helpful. Has been like the best thing for me.
That's awesome. And like we said earlier, and this will debut, I'm almost positive either next Tuesday. Yeah, I'm almost positive it's next Tuesday's podcast.
14.
I'll have to look at our calendar, but it's coming up pretty soon, and you guys are going to get to hear Mary's first Mindset Minute as a part of a little segment of the podcast, which is cool. And then, also full disclosure, if anybody has interacted with our support team in the last few weeks, you'll recognize her name as well. So I don't know. I know selfishly, like it's a great, here's the reason why I love it. Just, not the only reason. Again, I love just interacting, and it's just an amazing experience for me. But the hiring process on Jim and Mary was about 14 minutes long. I think in your case, Mary, it was like, same thing. I sent you a text and said, no. I mentioned it on Start, and you messaged me and said, I'm interested. And then I texted you and said, okay, let's talk real quick. Why was it so short? Well, because even though I wasn't, effectively, I've been interviewing you for 2 years, because we've been like, what was I supposed to do in an interview? Mary, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I already know where you see yourself in 5 years. What's been your biggest struggle I already know, and I know, your ethics. I know your honesty. I know your personality. I know that how to, you may not know, okay, what's the button I click to access this thing? Like that's, I can teach you that. It takes 2 minutes in a screen share, but my voice and those things, because, you spend, multiple hours with me every month. So it's kind of easy to pick that up. And so, the personality of the company, and, in many cases, like you have an instinct, I'm going to make up an example here. We, this is not one that you did, but I think you probably could have figured this one out just because you've been around me enough to know how I would handle something like this. We had a guy who, he purchased a product that was 4 payments of $297. And he said, he was like, hey, it turns out this isn't for me. I just don't have time. But he actually was like, I feel like I got $297 worth of value out of what I did, and I want you to keep the first payment. I just want to cancel the future payments. And it was actually after the refund period. So legally, we could be like, no, we're not giving any of your money back because, like, you agreed to do this. But I said to my wife Tara, who was the one who fielded the email, and I just said, why don't you do this? We just pre-sold No Product, No Problem, the new version at $297. It's normally $497. We just pre-sold it at $297. Why don't you just give them that? Like, just email them and say, hey, we're not going to charge any more money. We are going to cancel your access to the product that you're not paying full price for, but we want to gift you, this. He was blown away. When you've spent 2 years with me, you kind of know that's my heart to do that, even though I know we could technically be like up yours, like, no, that's what some people do. It's like, no, he's trying to do the right thing. That's how I feel about it. So, that said, as we wrap up here, first of all, Mary and Jim, thank you so much. This is, sure. I hope people are getting just a little bit of a taste of what START is like, but I just want to ask you, I'll start with Jim. Hello again, Jim. So weird. What if he really was like, I don't know, it's like very philosophical. What if Jim really is like, right? It's getting really deep, guys. Sorry.
Mary's down in Arizona. I'm up in Idaho. It's about the same. Hi, Mary.
Jim, actually, let me see. Hey, Jim. Hey there in Winona Lake. I just waved towards Winona Lake, Indiana. Jim, if somebody was thinking right now, they're like, I feel like a mastermind. I feel like START Mastermind might be something that I need. But I'm not sure. Not sure if I'm going to get value out of it. I'm not sure if I have the time. Not sure if I can, commit to, even though it's super affordable, it really is, especially, the mastermind I'm in, for example, it's, over $1,000 a month. And I've paid much more than that for other masterminds. they still think, I got to make a financial investment, and they're thinking maybe this isn't, I don't know. I just don't know if it's worth those things. What would you tell somebody in that position?
I would tell them, sounds like a sales speech, but it's
Make a
it's
sales
invaluable.
speech. I mean, that's kind of what I asked you to do there, Jim.
It is. But I've been in this a long time, years, and I don't quit because there's always more to learn. And was talking with Mary yesterday, and I said, it's just like the verse, iron sharpening iron. I mean, we get together and we bounce things off of each other. Here's where I'm struggling. Do you have any ideas? Or here's what I'm doing. And you can say, well, that is really stupid. And you don't say that, but you say, here's how you can refine that and adjust your direction so you actually hit where you're aiming. It's just invaluable. And sure, I've wound up doing side projects with quite a few people, but I never set out to do that. And I'm not saying join START because you'll find a connection here and some projects to work. Maybe not. That's just gravy for me, but it was never the reason for me joining START. And it's not the reason I'm staying in START. It's I'm a solopreneur. I sit here in my office, which is actually the spare bedroom. If you notice that I've got a bed over here with the dog toy on it. And I'm by myself all day. I can talk to my dog Finley all day long. He gives me great ideas, but not as good as START. So
well, that's our new tagline there, Jim. The ideas I get from START are better than the ones I get from my dog. We got to refine that, but we could probably work that. We'll get a silhouette of Finley on the shirt recommending START that says START's ideas are better than mine. Oh, can you work on some email copy for that, Jim?
I sure can. Yeah.
Oh, I know I interrupted you there. Was there anything else, Jim?
Oh, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Oh, and in case you guys didn't notice, like, we do have some fun too. I mean, there are very few times in START, because it is kind of like, you think I don't have a filter on these, just wait till you get in START. We have some fun, and we say some silly, there's some goofball things that happen. There's some celebrating, like we said, we share wins at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, it's a very unfiltered place, as well. And what I mean by that is, there's a deep level of transparency, like the old saying, you get out of it what you put into it, could not be more true than of a mastermind, could not be more true than of START. You will get out of it what you put into it. And what I mean by that is, you come into those meetings, Mary never pretended. Mary never came into those meetings like she took notes first. Like, she didn't come into those meetings like, I know what the heck I'm doing, and I'm the smartest person in the room. Like, I actually feel like in a healthy way, she came into the meeting going, I might be the dumbest person in the room. And that's actually a very healthy mindset. When I go into when I'm in my mastermind meetings, like the ones that I pay for, I try to go in, I try to just at least assume that I am the dumbest person in the room when it comes to the topic that I'm in the mastermind for. And because I've gone into them in the past where I was like trying to impress the guy who ran the mastermind. So I was the one who, the questions I asked were they weren't real struggles. It was like the people who say, you ask them like, what's your biggest struggle when it comes to productivity in your life? So, well, my biggest struggle is, man, I just work so hard. I'm just such a dedicated person. I just work so hard. Like, my biggest struggle is I just want to get up earlier in the morning. Really? Like, I'll admit it. My biggest struggle is there are mornings where I wake up, roll out of bed and go, I don't want to do this. And if I go into something, if I'm talking to somebody about that, for example, and I go into, my biggest struggle is I'm just too good. And, like, I'm not going to get
my business makes too much money. I don't know what to do with it.
There's another one. Like you're talking about leadership, for example. I'm in a leadership mastermind. If I went into one of those meetings, like, yeah, guys, I'm really struggling with, I'm just really struggling to know what to do with all the excess money that we have right now. I just really don't know how to spend it. You know, should the company, like, should we just pay ourselves more? What is a stupid question? You know, because that's not the problem I have. You know, like when we hit COVID, I mean, full transparency, I am not one of those people who's like, yeah, COVID really didn't affect us. Look, we launched on the single worst possible day of the past century. We might as
1
well
year ago today.
we
Yeah.
might as well have launched on September 11th, 2001. You know, it was almost exactly, yeah, it was like a year ago today, wasn't it? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even think about that. Wow. But you know what? I'm super glad that happened because it forced us into some stuff, and our company's doing amazing right now. But that said, if I'd gone into those meetings like, yeah, we're just, we're doing so good, and I have all the answers, I'm not going to get any value out of that. I had to go into a meeting right after this happened and just say, okay, guys, I don't know how we're going to make payroll. I went to my mastermind, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And they're like, okay. And they made some suggestions. They're like, well, talk to your bank, and like, there's just some stop gaps, and have a meeting with your team. And you remember that meeting, Robbie? We were just like, I was like, guys, we got to come up with a way to get our evergreen stuff up and running better, because this launch was a disaster, no fault of our own. We're expecting, we did less than 1/10 of what we were expecting to make in that launch. And all that stuff came from me being transparent in that mastermind. So thank you for that, Jim. Mary, as we wrap up. And by the way, guys, mattmcwilliams.com/start. That's where you can, Robbie was like, boom. He's been hovering that finger over the button for like the last 30 minutes, ready to press it. Let's go to the URL you see on your screen there, mattmcwilliams.com/start. And as we wrap up, I want to kind of let Mary close us out, and then I'll say almost said a few farting words. I have been on my game today. A few parting words from me, but go to mattmcwilliams.com/start. Mary, what have been some of the I don't know, if somebody's on the fence, they're thinking about this again. They're thinking, I don't have time. I don't even know what I would ask. I don't know what I would say. I don't know if I should spend, is this the best investment of my money and time? What would you say to them about START?
I would say, what is it going to cost you to not be part of START? What's it going to cost you professionally, entrepreneurially, personally? Because if you're struggling in any part of any of those items I just mentioned, you're going to keep struggling, and that's going to be your cost. You could potentially end up closing your doors. You could just give up on everything and go back to the usual humdrum of, I got to go get a job and work for somebody else because I can't achieve my own dream. So if you're not part of START, what is it going to cost you in the end? That's one of the things that I had to ask myself when I first started with START is, what is it going to cost you? And that was a very profound thing. And I have gotten more out of START, and I've been able to save elements of my life because I invested in myself. I invested in my dream. I invested in what I knew needed to happen to propel me forward. So I ask you, what is it going to cost you if you don't join?
Yeah. All right, cool, guys. Go to mattmcwilliams.com/start. Yeah, I mean, listen to Mary. I will just say that. I mean, again, I think it's you're accelerating. So Mary, Mary has, in her business, has been through some painful stuff. I've been through some painful stuff. Jim's been through some painful stuff. There's been growing pains. There's been lessons. There have been things that they spent 6 hours Googling one day when 5 minutes in the mastermind would have solved the problem. I think about this. So we're starting an agency, right? That's a big thing. I've never started an agency, so that's a higher level thing that I could go Google compensation plans for agency, maybe compensation plans for salespeople, because I could kind of apply that that same construct, and I could read half a dozen blog posts, and I could listen to a couple of podcasts. I could probably read a book about it, or two, maybe three. So now we're at like 27 hours. I can meet about it, and this is the other thing you can do. So you can get expert advice. The other thing we can do is like Robbie and I and Tara and I, we can meet about it. I can talk to my, friends about it who have a little bit of experience, and we can talk one-on-one, and I can get some ideas, or in 10 minutes in a mastermind, I can solve the problem and I can nail it down and have multiple people saying, no, we did it this way. We did it this way. And they're outlining it for me. And they can tell me how they screwed up, and it cost them millions of dollars, and I can learn from their mistakes. And the same is true with START. You're going to, when you come in, like, you're going to learn from the stuff that Mary messed up, and you're going to learn from the stuff that Jim messed up. You're also going to learn from their successes. The other thing you get is, we all have what I call the magic rectangle. Like, this has access to an entire world of information, right? According to my phone, I have almost 4 hours of screen time on it a day, which is a misnomer because I actually don't really use it that much except to listen to audiobooks. And I have access to, there's not an audiobook in the world you can't access on the magic rectangle. We don't have a shortage of information. That said, are you accessing the right information for the right time for where you're at? And that's what START's all about. And so you not only have access to all that you can listen to in a given period of time, but you have access to every audiobook and every course that Jim's been through, and every audiobook and every course that Mary's been through, and that the others have been through. You have access to all of that. And so we're all pulling that information. And then what starts to happen, if you understand like human psychology, it's fascinating. You start to connect all those dots, and Mary says something to Gwen, and then it gives you a thing. And then next thing you know, you've figured out your life's purpose, and that's how it operates. That's the kind of clarity you get. So again, go to the URL you see on your screen there. I know we've had a few people sign up this week, which is awesome. Got some new members we get to welcome, and we're excited to see them next week. We are shutting down registration here in just a few days because we have a meeting next week. We have our next meeting next week. So we'll have some of the OGs like Mary and Jim. They'll be on the hot seat next week. So all you new people will get to see what it's like. We're not going to throw you into the fire. You'll get to see what a hot seat's like. And then some of you are going to be on the hot seat 2 weeks later. So just to give you a quick overview of what you get in START, and then we'll wrap up. Again, you can find out more at mattmcwilliams.com/start, and you can sign up there. We meet every single week. Okay. So every single week throughout the year, except for major holidays, right? I'm on twice a month, almost every single month. Every now and again, I think recently I missed one, and that's the first one I'd missed in quite some time. And Robbie, who's just as good, by the way. Okay, he's a little bit better. A little bit better, not much better, just a little bit better. He'll take over and do that, but I'm on at the very minimum once a month, usually twice a month, on there, actually facilitating. And then the other 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending upon how the month falls, you guys will get on and mastermind together. So it's more of an open room, a little bit more informal, a little bit less formal there. And then we have the private group. So you have a question in the middle of the week. It's, Friday at midnight, and you're like, oh, I have this idea. I need to get some feedback on it. You can get that, basically 24/7. You don't have to wait until your next hot seat or wait until the next meeting.
And with that, he's out. So, Mary and Jim, it was wonderful having you here today. Hopefully, we'll have some people join us, and they'll get to see you inside the START Mastermind.
Yes.
Great.
Nice.
Oh, Matt's back for his final word.
All right.
In 3, 2, 1.
That was weird. But hey, by the way, I learned what to do if I get disconnected. If you click on camera, then it'll rejoin. I was there. I was listening to every word you said. Isn't that weird?
Well,
So, anyway, I'm not saying there's also some other special stuff that you get, some cool, some kind of backstage type access and whatnot, and little things like that. We do some exclusive trainings and all that fun stuff. So again, just go to mattmcwilliams.com/start to join. Mary, Jim, you guys are amazing. Just for the record, You guys are absolutely awesome. And so I have loved watching your journey. And Mary, now that we're almost at the tail end of this whole, year-long ordeal, I know we will see each other at some sort of an event, or we'll come out to Phoenix sometime and see out there. And Jim, let's go grab breakfast sometime, man.
Let's do it.
All right, guys.